doesn't set any new precedents as far as what the United States has done to overthrow dictators in the past. We've done it, and it's been beneficial not only to us but the world in general.
So I don't think that really I don't really think that too many people would sit here and argue that this is like an unprecedented thing. But that doesn't mean that therefore it's not wrong. And yeah, I'd argue that, a lot of the coups in which we've done in the past have definitely not been beneficial. I mean, look at the destabilization that we caused in the Middle East and how many lives that we lost, not only of our own military, but also of the innocent individuals inside of the Middle East. That has now just materially resulted within a, authoritarian takeover of Afghanistan with the Taliban. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not saying they all worked out to the T like we had hoped or planned, but I would think the people of the countries that I just mentioned that have gone through this prior to Venezuela, they are all in a better position because those illegitimate leaders were removed.
Listen, if we should remove illegitimate leaders, then you wouldn't support Trump because, honestly, dude, he tried to be one. Do we remember?
Did he not get voted into office?
Do we remember his fake elector scheme in the 2020 election when he installed FAKE votes for himself inside of Congress by sending fake slates of electorates to 7 different of our.
Wait, so are you saying the 2024 election was illegitimate?
No, I'm saying that you're not listening to me because I obviously just said the 2020 election. He literally tried to install himself for a second term. So, if you think that countries are
was he president from 2020 to 2024?
No, because ultimately Mike Pence defied him and it chose the Constitution over him. So is your argument?
Why are we talking about that? He wasn't president.
Yeah, because we're
talking about now.
I'll tell you why we're talking about that. Don't worry, because you're sitting here saying that, well, we need to condemn illegitimate leaders, even if it means defying Congress, breaking the law, circumnavigating around Article 1 of the Constitution, and then taking and extracting resources from other countries the same way that Donald Trump wants to send American oil companies into Venezuela to steal their oil, to profit off of it, to enrich America, him and his rich friends. So, if you really hold that much against illegitimate leaders, then why do you support Trump as president, considering the fact that he tried?
The point I try to make, which you're not hearing, is Trump was not president between 2020 and 2024.
And what I'm saying that you're not hearing is that he tried to be illegitimately.
He tried, but it didn't work, did it?
Oh, so your argument is even though he tried because it failed, you don't care.
Well, you claim he did.
So I have a question.
You claim
I have a question. So if Donald Trump just tried to rape 10 little children but failed, would you still support him? Because ultimately it's not something that he actually did.
If he did that, Dean, he'd be in prison right now, buddy.
Lie.
Can you answer my question?
Lie.
I just don't think I'm getting an answer to my question. It's obviously hypothetical relevant to your logic.
He didn't do that. You're hypothetical. That's a hypothetical.
Well, it's a hypothetical that serves a purpose of disputing your principles. You're arguing.
No.
Listen. I'm going to break this down. I'm going to go super slowly. I just need you to listen to every single word that leaves your mouth.
Listen, buddy. I've heard all these things you've said on previous
No,
podcast.
This is actually an argument that is unique to yourself.
I get it. We're not going to.
This is an argument that is.
Reword that.
Unique to yourself. Stop running. Right now, what you're doing is you're actively running away from the argument because you know that you're lost. Okay. So just to recollect how we got to where we are and where we are going to go from here. Make sure you listen to every word that's about to leave my mouth. Point number 1, specifically, you said that you really hate illegitimate leaders, even if it means doing all of these bad things in the process to end their illegitimate leadership. Okay? Point number 2, Donald Trump tried to become an illegitimate leader. He tried to install himself for a second term, and of course I'd be referring to the fake elector scheme that he admitted to inside of court. Point number 3, therefore, in accordance with your logic, at the bare minimum, you definitely shouldn't support him as president ever again, regardless if it's legitimate or illegitimate. Then you respond to that by saying, well, was he successful in his attempt to become an illegitimate leader? Was he successful in his attempt to install himself for a second term against the voice and the vote of the people? And I said no, so you said you didn't care. So in other words, you're operating off this principle that Donald Trump can try to do whatever he wants, but as long as he doesn't succeed, you don't care, regardless of how wrong the thing that he tried to do was. So, of course, in accordance with this principle, I'm asking you a hypothetical question to show you how that principle is absurd. So that question would be, if Donald Trump hypothetically tried to rape 10 children, but failed in the process of doing so, would you still support him as president? Because ultimately, he didn't rape 10 children. You can unmute now.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to be too long with you. This dude is going to get us killed. I mean, I would say fuck Madaro because he's one of the, what would you say? You would say ambassador or whatever the hell he is. But what was the reason? I guess with Donald Trump, there is no reason. He just likes to start shit. And he's going to start shit with the wrong person. I'm just going to tell you, citizens of the United States of America, he's going to start the wrong shit with the wrong person. I already know the reason why he bombed Venezuela. I already know the reason why he did it. It was because of the oil. Right on target. The same thing that happened to Saddam Hussein, the same thing that happened to what's the other guy's name? I forgot his name. Real quick. I just said his name like a few minutes ago. Not Saddam Hussein, but Osama bin Laden. So whatever happened with Osama bin Laden, of course, that was Obama. And George Bush slaughtered Saddam Hussein. It was all because of oil. All because of oil. And now what he's trying to do to those people in South Africa, he's targeting Africa. Been there, tried that, done that. He's going to do it and is doing it now through the so-called Christians of Nigeria. Just to keep that in your head. Because if Africa goes, so do you. He's got to go. He has to go. Because he's going to fuck around and start shit with the wrong person. For example, if he starts the shit with Putin, guess what's going to happen? There's war inside the United States. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Is going to be war against the United States. There's going to be war. He just starts shit. We are now known thanks to Trump as being the big bully. Which I don't mind under certain circumstances, but this shit, what's the reason? What's the fucking reason? What's the logic behind all that? Yeah, you can start shit with you can slap the shit out of a small person, but let a big person come along. If the shit was on us, if they were harming us, I can understand that. If they were, oh god. And then I woke up to this shit. Hold on.
These are life sources. As far as I'm 53 years old,
I would expect you to know more about this because you're twice my age. I'm only 21, but I'm obviously going to ask you for a source on that, not because I'm necessarily saying that you're wrong, but rather just because I want to ensure that you're right. So, do I have a source on that?
I don't need any source, Dean. My life is my source, and
that's not how you debate. That's not. Come on. When you're in the middle of the debate, I'm going to ask dude, imagine
you're free to look this stuff up yourself if you don't believe what I'm saying. I don't have the time or the capability of doing that while I'm talking to you live on this podcast.
Well, so if you can't provide any evidence for the words that are coming out of your mouth, maybe we should talk about something else that you could provide evidence for, or just something that I would know more about, so that I can either affirm that you're right or definitely prove you false.
So because I'm talking about something you may not have knowledge of, you're condemning what I'm saying as being false?
I'm just simply saying that I'm not going to accept that it's true in any rational mind when I accept that it's true.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's too fair.
What? Wait, of course it's fair to say that I'm not willing to accept something that you say unless you could provide.
And then what's worse is these megas are going apeshit crazy. They are celebrating that Trump has finally so-called sought out their cries for help. I'm telling you, these white folks are fucking dumb. They're dumb. They're dumb as they're just dumb as a bag of rocks. You just don't know what you got yourself into. And this is one of the reasons why this motherfucker is going to get impeached. He is going to get impeached. When those seats turn blue this year, he is going to get impeached and he's going to jail for war crimes. Book it, guarantee it, it's going to happen. It is going to fucking happen. And I hope it does. Now I don't condemn and I don't condone all those ambassadors that do shit to Americans. I don't condone it, but this shit right here is uncalled for. You're gonna get us hurt. You're gonna get us in the wrong space at the wrong time, and because he can do it and did this. Let me see. He even got in trouble by the Supreme Court. Let me see. But this is at a different time. This is at a different time. Trump suffers double blow from the Supreme Court. See, he's known. He ain't, to me, he ain't known for being a bully, which he is a bully. But he's also reduced himself down to a 12-year-old because of the simple fact of his IQ. How long are you taking all those? You taking all those damn tests? You taking all those tests for what specific reason? Because you don't want to die. Well, Joe Biden found out later on that time waits for no man, waits for no human. And that's the reason why he had stepped down. Why is this time suffering? Why do I have to suffer with this month? Why do I have to suffer with them? Why? Why do I? Court blocks emergency requests. What is this all about? And this is from, let me read this. This was from December 19th. On December 19th, Donald Trump suffers his first loss in months on the Supreme Court Supreme Court emergency docket as justices declined to pause a case about restrictions on immigrant judges' speeches. So he's trying to impeach speech? Or he's trying to silence speech? Let me read that again. On December 19th, Donald Trump suffers his first loss in months on the Supreme Court emergency docket as justices decline to pause a case about restrictions on immigration judges' speeches. If you're here legally, you're here legally. Get over it. On December 23rd, Supreme Court again rejects the Trump administration in the 6-3 order, finding no valid legal authority to deploy the National Guard. Trump announced on December 31st that the National Guard were being withdrawn from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland. So they're being withdrawn. The Supreme Court will hear the Supreme Court will hear major Maret's, whatever that word is, cases on 2026 on the administration's tariffs, the president's birthright citizenship order, and his authority to remove independent agency officials. What does this do, God? I'm not getting this. I'm not getting this at all. This dude he's got to go. He has got to go. Any of these rulings could pose new legal setbacks for the administration. Solicitor General D. Johnson, something I'm not gonna butcher the dude's last name, says these cases present what has become a disturbing and recruiting pattern. Federal officials are accepting to enforce federal immigration laws in the urban area containing sufficient numbers and legal aliens. The federal agents efforts are to meet with prolonged coordinates, violent restraints that threaten their lives and safeties, and significantly further forcing their ability to enforce federal laws. So basically, what happens is the Supreme Court is basically taking a big ass dump on the Trump administration, which they should. But then again, we're talking about the same Supreme Court that gave this motherfucker immunity. He has to go. He has to fucking go. Oh, is there a videotape? Hold on. I didn't know there was a videotape. How do you turn the sound up?
Education and Trump's orders to cut off SNAP nutrition benefits to 42 million Americans. Bonta told the San Francisco Chronicle last month that in about 80% of the cases, the courts have ruled in the state's favor, or the Trump administration has dropped its opposition and agreed to a settlement. If you're winning 80% of your battles, you're doing something well enough that we can call it a model for how state elected officials can stand up to Donald Trump. Now, just this week, Bonta in California notched another win. President Trump announced on Tuesday that he would be pulling the National Guard out of several major American cities, including Los Angeles. And it came after California sued to force the National Guard out and won. It's a stark reminder to the country right now. If you stand up to Trump and try to stop him, you can win, maybe even 80% of the time, depending. Joining us now is Rob Bonta, the Attorney General of the state of California. It's great to see you.
You can stop him all the time.
There is a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, as you are well aware. Federal courts are stacked with Republican appointees. And yet, I've just gone through this. You've been going into court and you've been winning. Why do you think this has been such a fruitful avenue in the effort to fight back against Trump?
It's a reminder that the rule of law is in full effect, and that when you fight to make sure that the law is enforced and implemented, you can win. And in front of the U.S. Supreme Court recently, with a 6-3 majority to multiple cases where Trump appointees and other Republican appointees.
Damn it. I hate when that happens. Hell, I'm going to be back. Don't worry. I'll be back tomorrow. I'll definitely be back.
I've ever seen, or the Trump administration is untethered from the facts, and other extreme language that represents the extreme actions that they're seeing before them. We're winning because it doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. We go to court when we have the facts and the law on our side. We only go to court when we believe the law is broken, not because we have any ideological or political difference or grievance. It's just based on the law and the facts. And in courts of law, they are sanitized spaces where politics should not penetrate those spaces, and the law and the facts will prevail. And so that's why we've won over 80% of the time. We've protected $168 billion of funding for the state of California. It's $3 trillion nationwide, protected constitutional rights and freedoms, and we're going to continue to fight.
Appeals court order ends to Trump's commands of California National Guard. So therefore, California, Los Angeles, and Portland have all moved out, or should be moving out, or should already been moved out, which is they should have never, ever been there in the first place. Now let's see what Jasmine Crockett has to say about Venezuela. What's my baby up to?
When we are elected officials and we're in the middle of this kind of becomes our world, and that we get lost in the sauce, or that we're so caught up in the bubble. But I can't imagine not kind of being concerned about what happened. And this reminds me of how I felt the day that I found out about him most likely exceeding his powers before, as it relates to yet another foreign nation. And this is where it becomes a problem if we allow, one constitutional violation after another, even if it's in a different realm. So whether we're talking about due process, as there are people that maybe weren't that tuned in to the fact that he was like bombing these Venezuelan boats, and allegedly it was because of fentanyl that was coming in, and no one was given an opportunity to talk about what it was that they were doing, because he was just killing them. Like, we all should have been outraged at that point, because once you allow someone like the man that is currently serving in the Oval to recede and take away powers that exist in our strongest documents, such as the Constitution itself, then it becomes kind of this downward spiral, and it doesn't stop. And so, yeah, I just wanted to check in with y'all to see how you feel. I'm just letting y'all know that I didn't get no call like, girl, it's time to get back to DC. We got votes to take. Not obviously, for those of you who don't know, the current committees that I serve on are the Select Committee for January 6th. I also serve on Judiciary. I also serve on Oversight, as I'm sure most of y'all know. And I actually also am the current ranking member of another Select Committee that deals with declassification. So we deal with all of the UFOs, which we don't call them that anymore, but that's what most people know them as. So I'm saying UFOs, as well as declassification around MLK, as well as JFK and various things. But I serve as the ranking member on that. So honestly, most people don't know that I actually have like 4 committees, which is not normal, for sure, to have so many committee assignments. But I do stay pretty busy. So I do not serve on foreign affairs. I don't serve on armed forces. I don't serve on any of those committees. But when it comes to things like what I feel like took place, it is not committee specific only. This is a matter of Congress, which I am a member of the House, and in the chats that have been going crazy with other House members, I don't have any chats with the Republicans. So not really sure what they're talking about right now, but I can tell you that the Democrats are concerned about what's taking place. So let me just level set really quickly, just so y'all know my stat.
You know the deal. Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. The things, in my opinion, that are taking place right now, if the Republicans, and I'm telling you this right now, if the Republicans are not talking with the Democrats about this very same issue, and I'm saying not all Republicans, because not all Republicans feel the way that you feel as citizens. Some of you feel, now it's like a 50-50 deal, right? Some of you feel, and let me flip this around real quick. Some of you feel that this was the right move, which it isn't the right move. It's just simply not the right move. It's just like you smacking a bully and he doesn't smack you back. But when you smack a bear, the bear is going to get you. F with the bear, you're going to get mauled. You're going to get mauled. And that's what I feel that listen, I don't agree with everything, and I agree with most things. But this was something ignorant. You wanted to prove something, and I know he didn't act on this alone. Trump did not, definitely not act on this alone at all. He was being influenced by his elitists. Mark my words, what happens? And also, he's at the same time able to piss off millionaires, not billionaires, millionaires. There's a distinct difference. Let me tell you the distinct difference real quick. There are those millionaires who can make money at the same time lose it, right? And then there are those billionaires that ain't worried about shit at all. They're like, we can lose a couple million here and there. It don't matter to us. But the millionaires who are here can absolutely lose it here. And Trump is absolutely pissing off his millionaire buddies. Watch what I say. Guarantee if either Jasmine or James gets in that Senate seat, which I banked Jasmine to get into the seat. That's why I'm campaigning for her. Watch what I say. And I am going to be covering the shit that's happened in, I think, Iowa, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to cover the shit, what's happened in Iowa. That's going to be tomorrow. But mark my words, what happens. November comes around, those seats will turn blue. Now, back to Jasmine.
Is looking to see what comments and questions you have so that they can send that over so that I can try to be as responsive as possible. Number one, anything that happens from here on out as it relates to Democrats, I feel confident in saying that universally we are not taking quote unquote the side, because I absolutely imagine that the Republicans are going to be like, oh, the Democrats love dictators. And it's like, clearly we don't, because like we not vibing with you, bro. But like, that is not what it is. This is about process. This is about our Constitution. And it is about the precedent that it sets when you start to do things like this, as well as putting American lives in danger. That is what it is about. Let me tell you something. There's a lot of dictators in this world. There's a lot of them. And frankly, I don't look at Trump as like Captain Saberho. I'm just saying, like, that's not what he does, right? So I think that he made it clear that this was not about the Venezuelan people and about doing something for them. Because mind you, he decided that like the Enemy Aliens Act needed to be enacted and actually revived from the dead, because it's like a 1700 law, right? So that he could actually kick Venezuelans out. So I'm just saying, like, I don't think that this is the guy that has really cared very much about Venezuelans, because he's saying it's such a terrible place, but yeah, we ain't got no space for you. And he's saying that it's so terrible that he had to go in and he had to do this but we're going to kick people back. Actually, you're making the argument that asylum may have been something that was real that they actually needed. Like, don't mistake for 2 seconds, and he's not even going to try to. I think the Republicans will try to justify this. And so I think that the talking points that they will have will be, this is about the Venezuelan people and freeing them. And this isn't normally what we do in that way. But nevertheless, he has made it clear that this is about oil. Oil. So for all the people that felt like they were voting for somebody who was looking out for them, I'm just saying it's the oil people. I remember the coverage of him having these oil magnates at Mar-a-Lago, you know, $1 million plate fundraiser or something like that. I remember those headlines. I do. I can't tell y'all when it was. It was before the election, but I remember that was a big part of it. And it is clear that some people definitely made out better with their investments than others. And when I say others, I mean the rest of us. Like, clearly I didn't invest in this candidate, but at the end of the day, I actually do feel really bad for people that believed that this man was going to put them first. I do. Now, I know a con when I see one, and so I know what it is, not to mention like his history, but like for people that actually believed, and to have this be what they receive is kind of wild. From the Epstein drama to the economy and tearing it apart to getting us into more wars and claiming that you're like the president of peace. So that's my 2 cents. Questions, because I'm sure you have more exciting things to do as it relates to this Saturday morning. All right.
Hold on. Did she say the president of peace? Then why is he starting wars? His first executive order was to go at, I think it was the people of Africa, I'm not sure. But that was his first act. Right after inauguration, his first act was to go after someone. And he proclaims that he's the president of peace. I think that whatever he's dealing with, the same thing Biden's dealing with. And did I not tell you that what you put out in the universe automatically comes back at you? So what he made fun of Biden for, and what he made fun of the person that the war hero that got captured, who was a nominee for president of the United States, that was competing for that seat when he was going against Obama and absolutely lost. It's coming right back at him. Heavy. Very, very heavy. But I heard his little speech this morning, and we're going to review all that tomorrow. But right now, this was the wrong move. And it's frustrating. I didn't take it serious at first, but then again, I started thinking, at my 45 years of living on this earth, shit can come right back to you. It's just like in the universe, what you say and what you do is going to come back on you tenfold. What he is doing right now ain't working, bruh. It ain't working. And I'm not advocating for all those people over there, because I don't know what they do. But when it comes to, for example, those Africans in Nigeria, we all know what that shit is about. And it's going to affect down the road who? Tarim Ibe of Burkina Faso. He wants the gold over there. He wants money. Oil attracts what? Money. I told you, I told you people, he is not a Republican nor a Democrat. He is a capitalist. He's a straight capitalist. Let's continue.
What are we doing? Okay. What questions do we have? Team, send me questions because I don't know what's happening. All right, let me do it this way. I can check in over here. Oh, y'all are going really fast. CBS News Channel has a reporter who interviews some Venezuelans who are very happy and feeling relieved about Trump's actions. I don't think they truly understand what Trump is really after. America last. Okay, so somebody asked what we are going to do now. So, I mean, I do want to make it clear. Let's go ahead and go through civics really quickly. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House. I mean, I've been trying to do my part across the country to keep them from controlling every lever of government, but they control it. And I shouldn't even say that they control it, because basically Trump has consolidated power within the executive branch, and Republicans in the House and Senate, except for a few. So let me be clear. I have not looked. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, but there are certain people that I can rely on that seemingly are always like, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And it don't matter what Donald Trump is up to, even though they're Republicans. One of those is Rand Paul. So I've not seen his statements, but I'd almost bet money that Rand Paul is speaking out against this. That is just my guess. As it relates to the House side, Thomas Massie came out very strongly against what's taking place, as well as Marjorie came out against the president. So, you know, we go back into the House on Tuesday. Now, whether or not we go back earlier, I don't have any control over that. I just want to be clear. Hakeem Jeffries doesn't have control over that. If we want to make sure that there is a check on this government, that check ain't coming until the midterms. I'm just saying. But what we have seen is we've seen a historic number of discharge petitions that have come live because a very select few, usually only about 4 Republicans, have crossed over to support, say, what the Democrats were pushing forward with. So do I anticipate that we may be able to glean a little bit more support from the Republican side? Maybe. I don't know if we'll get 4 so that we can get somewhere as it relates to at least voting on something. But then who knows what happens in the Senate? I have no ideas about what happens in the Senate. I think having obviously a senator that has decided that he's going to retire. Actually, there's multiple senators that have decided that they're going to retire. So maybe some of those Republican senators that have decided that they're going to retire can find their backbone and say enough is enough. I don't know. I mean, I think that there are people that are finding solace in the fact that no American lives were lost, but they could have been. Just to put that out there, because I mean, the fact that we are putting our service members in harm's way because of oil, because I do want to be clear, while one of the messages said something about the Venezuelan people were cheering, at the end of the day, like, Trump wasn't trying to help. Trump is actually going after the resources in that country. I mean, we've seen this play out more than once. We know kind of like what this is. And he wasn't trying to hide that that is his mission. I mean, the fact that we had a U.S. president basically going on and on and on about oil, instead of spending, say, more time trying to solidify what he did behind his bootleg DOJ, you know, and say, oh, no, this was just law enforcement and we were protecting, you know, Americans from the drug lord, even though I'm letting drug lords go every other day because that's what I do. Like, I'm not even really sure why we are in this circular stance at this point. I am very concerned, though, about our service members. I'm very concerned about, you know, if you've watched some of the statements that I've made, specifically, I remember doing a sit down with Brian Tyler Cohen. And this was as Steve Bannon and others were talking about Trump in a third term. and, basically having this philosophical conversation around if this is something that we feel like can be accomplished. And I said that I was very concerned that Trump may try to do everything that he can to make sure that we're at war so that he can then justify us not having elections because we're at war. And so the fact that this is the move that he decided to take here in January of 2026, we know what happens in 2026. It's midterms time. I feel very confident that he is constantly engaging in whatever strong arm tactics he can to prevent having real adults in the room that understand and want to adhere to the Constitution, reigning in his power. Now, if we had, say, a Democratic Speaker of the House, then we could potentially then go to court over some of these things. And we could be asking for the court and seeing where the Supreme Court stands on this. Don't have the highest hopes, but I do feel like, he goes so far that even the Supreme Court every once in a while has a hard time siding with him on some of the things that he's doing. But let me see if y'all got any other questions, because my team is supposed to be texting them to me. So let me see. All right, here we go with questions. Okay, there's a lot of questions. All right, here we go. Let's see. What happens if another country retaliates against the United States? We're at war. We're at war. And honestly, okay. So this presidency has allowed me to expand to the conspiracy world. And the sad part is it's because he's a conspiracy theorist that makes me believe that he could actually engage in some of these conspiracies. So this ballroom, there's been conspiracies around what he was doing with that ballroom, and it wasn't really the ballroom that he was looking for. But as he was in his press conference, he was attempting to say that the president was trying to go into a safe room. He said a safe space, I think is what he said. But he was talking about a safe room is what he reported out. I believe that he is trying to get a bunker of bunkers built right now. And it is because he knows that there will be retaliation, or at least people around him, even if they're going along with it, are educating him on the fact that retaliation may come. And I just don't think he cares about the rest of us. Like, this is at the same time that obviously we know the tax subsidies for healthcare have expired. They don't care. Like, I mean, this is at the same time that we know that the impact of the big ugly bill is about to be felt. We know, like, I just don't feel like he cares enough about us to worry about anybody retaliating. And I also am concerned about the fact that our relationships with our allies has been strained ever since he got back into office. And so this isolation stance that we have may really cause us to have some problems. Let's see. How can the USA support Venezuelan civil society, journalists, and political dissidents in this moment? That is a good question. I think that we all need to, it's interesting that I don't know how many Americans are really that interested at this moment in supporting Venezuelans, because they've been like attacking Venezuelans since day one. It was kick them out of here. Then it was bombing and shooting up, what they allege to be drug boats. But many have argued have literally just been fishermen. And now it's this. Like, the has been so wild, and it has been undocumented. It is hard to imagine that people who potentially sat on the sidelines and didn't have much to say about those first two steps would be that concerned. But for those that are concerned, I think that it is important that we share their stories. And I think it is also important for us to have conversations with our Venezuelan friends and neighbors, right? I know that there's been a lot of reports that Venezuelans, like I believe in Miami, have really been celebrating. But the question is this real liberation, right? Is it going from one dictator to another? or what's happening, and will this dictator be worse? Like, I think that those are the questions that people aren't really living out in this moment. And again, as Americans, it's not so much about like whether or not you like their leader, right? Because let me tell you something, there's a lot of people that don't like Trump at home and abroad. I'm gonna just point that out. It's a lot of people, right? But in our democracy, this is not how we function, where we allow one individual to then just sink us into war. Like, that's not what we do. And that's essentially what it feels like he's done. Now, the briefings historically, as it relates to the votes, ain't been worth very much. So we will see, but I anticipate when we get back that there will be a bipartisan demand that we be briefed on what took place, because that has not happened. And again, we go back in on Tuesday, January 6th of all days. Okay.
For those who don't know about the whole boat bombing thing, when it got hit the first time, we're talking about some people who were on the boat who were nowhere near the United States of America because they ultimately ran out of gas. And then they got bombed. Now, according to the video, this was a video that got edited. Because when the people got back onto the rubble, it got hit again. Again, it got edited. Hey, boo, hey. And so many people are denying it. The fact about not the first hit, but the second hit. And he's a man of peace. Trump is a man of peace. I beg to fucking differ.
But I do think we need to talk to our Venezuelan friends here and abroad. And if you are aware of Venezuelan journalists, make sure you're amplifying their stories on social media if they're independent versus propaganda, because, you know, we got a lot of propaganda in the United States as well now. Another question. I'm concerned about the harm to innocent life and civilians. While we may have issues with the government, I'm deeply concerned about harm to private citizens and civilians. Yeah, we're not even getting reports about that part. We've only received reports of Americans that went in as our service members, but somebody correct me if I'm wrong, and hopefully my staff will catch it. At this point, we've not been given any information other than they were looking at a possible additional attack that would have been bigger, and that we know that the president and his wife allegedly are safe, but we do not know about the status of others and civilians. So hopefully, with some independent journalism, we will learn in the coming days. But I don't even think anybody asked about that during the press conference. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I may have missed that, but I don't think that anyone even asked. I will applaud those journalists that were there at Mar-a-Lago, because they kind of like piggybacked on each other. If you saw, they were continuously pressing like, well, who is it that's going to run the country? Like, because he said, we're going to run it. It's like, who is we? Like, who is we? And like, they kept pressing, and they were asking about whether or not troops were going to be on the ground. And it seemed like they were potentially saying that like troops were going to be there, but more so just to look after the oil. That's kind of what I was left with. I don't know if there's been any further explanation of that, but that was kind of like the gist of what I was picking up from what he was saying, which again does nothing for those civilians or citizens or innocents that are in the country.
Why would he take over shithole countries? It wasn't had nothing. He don't want to have shit to do with no shithole countries. All he wants is the oil over there. Fuck everything else. But and I'm starting to see. It's very simple to see, and especially with your third eye, what this is all about. All about. And I said it before and I'll say it again. He's an opportunist. Any opportunity that comes around, he'll just take it. Just like seeing a $100 bill on the floor, on the ground somewhere. What are you gonna do? You're gonna pick it up and you're gonna put it in your pocket and you're gonna leave. That's all you're gonna do is you're gonna put it in your pocket and you're gonna fucking leave. With this, there's oil, there's this money to be made. The United States is in debt. So what do you do? $60+ trillion in debt. So what do you do when you're too lazy to drill up your own oil, which is in the United States of America? You gonna dominate somebody else's country. And accordance to, and I might be wrong, isn't Venezuela very, very small? Why don't I have a question? Why doesn't Trump fuck with China? Oops. Why doesn't Trump fuck with the USSR? Oops. You know why? It's not the fact that they got bigger guns. We got the same amount of fucking guns. We got the same amount of fucking guns. We got the same amount of fucking military. We're unstoppable. It's that China has what the United States has. And I'm not going to say this on this very live because very, very soon my monetizations got took. So it's like, fuck YouTube at this point. I mean, they wouldn't even say why my shit got took. They're not getting any specific details of why it got took. They just took it. So I'm like, okay, whatever. You can support me on the Cash App. The problem is, I'm just gonna say it, the new. Anyone, I'm just gonna call it the new. Instead of saying the whole word, I'm just gonna say the new. You know what I'm talking about. If they hit the new, we hit the new, but who is it going to hurt in the long run? It's going to hurt us. Our populations are going to deplete. Everything is going to be looking like a war zone and a wasteland. So who's the bigger bully, China or us? Obama wouldn't do that. Bush wouldn't do that. Fucking Biden wouldn't do that. I would be damn near to say if he were still alive, Ross Perot wouldn't do that. Maybe Nixon, maybe, but he ain't that stupid. So, and he's losing popularity by the way. So therefore, Donald Trump is now considered the worst president of the United States of America. He has got to go. Let's do
it. What safeguards should be in place to prevent retaliation against protesters or opposition figures? I don't know. First of all, I don't know if this is from the perspective of here at home or abroad, because these should be concerns for both. Obviously, I just talked about how our service members may end up being on the ground to protect oil, it seems like. And so we've got to be concerned with the safety of our service members from those that may try to retaliate. But also at home, I remember when we had our other situation, I basically was like, if you're going to any large gathering, be very like clear of like your surroundings and just kind of be on high alert. I think that is a good stance for us to have here in the coming days and weeks, is to just kind of be very cognizant of large gatherings of people in general, because I would imagine that if any retaliation would take place, it would be in order to really make a statement. So definitely just be very cognizant of where you're going and how much security exists. And, you know, from a federal government standpoint, I think it is important for us to at least emphasize that as we have some of our large gatherings, which we have a number of them that are about to come up, I won't name them, some of the biggest gatherings that we have, just making sure that the security around those are even tighter. And then I get into concerns about our intel, because again, not having as close a relationships with our allies, or them just not trusting our ability to safeguard intel, causes me concern for how much information we're actually getting from people that typically have been our friends. All right.
Okay. We're going to end this talk right now. Who was worse in the presidency, Biden or Trump? I should have put a queue up. I should have put like a Q&A question up. Who was more dangerous in the White House, Biden or Trump? Put a 1 if you think Biden was more dangerous. Put a 2 if you think Trump is more dangerous. We're gonna stop this little comparison because between Joe and of course I'm not naive to thinking these are the wings of the same damn bird. I'm stating factual that Biden would never do this and has not done it. If he did, he didn't do it to the degree how Trump is doing it right now. Trump wants to prove that he is the big iota. That's why he wants to put his name on everything. The Gulf of Mexico turned into the Gulf of the United States of America. What else? Oh, draw a big blank. Anything that wants to get rid of, and by the way, wants to get rid of Obamacare because it's Obamacare. The birth certificate. What happened to the birth certificate? It's not from this country. The birth certificate. The birth certificate. The birth certificate. The birth certificate. Why are foreigners into this country? Why are foreigners into this country? He's not an American. Guess what? Newsflash, white folks, you're not from this country either. Go back to bloody England, you cocksuckers!
Let's see. People are happy and relieved because of Maduro's harm. How should U.S. leaders acknowledge that pain while still prioritizing democracy and human rights? I think this is a really good question. Again, you know, I started this off by acknowledging that that there are people. I mean, frankly, a lot of the allegations that are being waged against Maduro, there are people that are waging those same allegations against the current president. I just want to be clear about that. And, you know, it is not, first of all, I think that what we have to do is make it plain that this president could care less about the Venezuelan people. That is like, that ain't got nothing to do with why he did this. And again, there are dictators and bad guys in a lot of countries. And so now are we saying that the United States is about to go into every single country and start nabbing all of their presidents? Like that's not a thing. And at the end of the day, Congress has to be involved. we don't live in a dictatorship. And he is doing things that look really a lot like a dictator, because going in, and he did this with the help of the Supreme Court, to be clear, going in and taking someone else's leader, regardless of how you feel about him. Like, I have no backup to give to Maduro. I do want to be clear. But going in, taking somebody's leader, no matter how you feel about them, and his wife, and completely dismantling their government, and then saying, I'm going to oversee all of your resources, that ain't about the people. So I think that what we need to do is, I don't think that people should be going and pretending that Maduro was like some amazing human. Like, that ain't our job. Like, our job isn't to cape for Maduro, but our job is to be clear about who we are in this country, and that this is how you end up with the Maduros of the world. This is what we don't stand for. So I think that, we can't allow us to get into a stance of the ends justifying the means, basically. Let's see. Okay. Oh Lord, they are really going on. Okay, sorry. Let me do a couple more, and then we will end this live so everybody can get back to their Saturday. How do we center the safety and self-determination of the Venezuelan people without repeating the mistakes of the past U.S. regime change interventions? There is no rule of law in this country or respect for the Constitution. What can Congress do about it? I think that is the important part, is that if this was the goal, then I think that we'd have an agenda, and we potentially would not make the same mistakes that we've made. But like, the agenda has nothing to do with like doing a regime change so that there could be actual self-determination of the Venezuelan people. This is an oil grab, period.
Yes.
Like, this dude is like, oh yeah, the oil companies from the United States are coming in. And I think that that's what makes this a little bit more complicated, because that's not what, like, the reason he didn't come to Congress is because he wouldn't have got the authority. He wouldn't have got the authority to do this. He needed the flunkies that were standing up there with him. That's what he needed. And he needed a Supreme Court that would say, hey, you can't be prosecuted for anything here. Like, yeah, no, like, just do whatever you want to, right? And he is taking full advantage of this bootleg, situation that the Supreme Court has made for us. So, this is about whether or not Congress actually finds a backbone. So again, I probably can count 2 people on the Republican side that potentially will sign on to get something done. I will also say that on January 31st, we will have our longest vacancy finally filled. It would have been almost a full year that Congressional District 18 in Houston has been left without representation. That is half of an entire term that they have not had representation. But as of January 31st, they are going to elect their next representative. And so we should be able to get that person to DC. So then we don't need 4 Republicans. We need 3 Republicans. So I know that we've probably got 2 on board to start to do something in the House, but the Senate is a problem. Again, your girl is running for the Senate for a reason, because a lot of our issues, even when we can finally get somewhere in the House, we can't get anything done on the Senate side. So I can't speak for, again, I feel like I can count on Rand Paul. And again, y'all can let me know, but I can probably Google right now, and Rand Paul is probably not with the shits. Because, I do feel like there are people that really believe what the core of the Republican platform is. And then there are people that don't have a belief system whatsoever, and they just do whatever Trump tells them to do. Kind of like our current senator, who's just like, hey, let me just be in the building. And frankly, that doesn't work for our country. And this is why our democracy is truly crumbling before our eyes.
Oh, and by the way, for those individuals, I just want to say this right now. We-On-Loc is doing this because he needs the views and the clicks and the clicks and the views. No, I could give a fuck less about politics. I can truly tell you the truth. But when it comes to a person like this who has absolutely opened my eyes to certain things, I like to give things to chance. Are they running on the side of the house? I hope that they don't open that gate. But anyway, I like to give things chances. And this is what I'm doing. And then Jasmine, not only Jasmine has opened my eyes to certain views, but I like reading into stuff. And it's like I said, the three individuals who are in this live chat, Mahogany, Lisa, and Barb. The three individuals who have completely opened my eyes to politics and to the bullshit that it certains, I've absolutely have taken this very, very seriously. And as I grow, and my birthday is in 7 months. I turn 46. It's gonna get even stronger. So and then I take certain things very seriously for the simple fact is what I said earlier. The more this goes on, the more it affects the United States as a whole. Because the more you bully the bear, the more the bear is going to maul at you. Mark my words. This is one of the reasons why he's not going after anybody else. I mean, you can think all these conservatives and all these MAGAs can think whatever they want, can say whatever they want. And they've been going through a tear as of late. The left is so dangerous. The left is the most dangerous regime in the world. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, who's in office right now? Who's in office proclaiming to be a president of peace, but is picking on smaller countries? Countries he shouldn't be picking on right now. Remember remember his first term, he was going on a Twitter war with Kim Jong-un of China. And then all of a sudden he went over there, he's his best friend. And by the way, giving out US secrets. So that's one of the reasons why he got impeached in the first place. One of the reasons. That whole thing at the Capitol, that was a benchmark. And so the people from the January 6th who got tried, he's releasing those people and pardoning those people as the allies of his America. Remember, his America, not anybody else's. Anybody who proclaims Trump as being this big, bad, bold president, this is the president we haven't had in years. Every other president is just weak. Yeah, y'all need to get checked. You definitely need to get checked in. Because something is wrong with you. Something is definitely wrong with you. Like, support, and subscribe to the channel. And go ahead and hit that Cash App that's in the bottom of the screen right there. Oh, my back hurts.
All right. So, okay, this is a good question. November is only months away. What is the strategy to win back Congress so that actions like this invasion can be checked? So, again, obviously Trump is still doing his bidding with the state houses and state senates and governor's mansions to try to rig the system. Kudos to Indiana for saying fuck you. Kudos to California for saying we're gonna fight back.
Did she just cuss?
Definitely kudos to the Trump justice who wrote the 160-page opinion denouncing what took place in Texas. And fuck you to the Supreme Court for what they did.
Did she just cuss again?
As well as, we'll see what happens in some other places. We are swinging seats no less than 10 points around the country since he has taken office. So what's happened is I honestly think there are seats in Texas that are in play that typically would not have been in play because of the way that they drew the lines. So if there is a seat that went for Trump by 10 points or less, in my estimation, it is in play. And as they have played these crazy lines all over the country, North Carolina included, trying to give him yet another seat after North Carolina is the reason we don't control the House in the first place, I think that they're drawing those seats too tight. So I think that what's going to happen is they're going to be in for a rude awakening. I stand
String of pearls. Sit your ass down somewhere.
As Speaker Emerita has stated over and over and over, she believes that the Democrats are going to take the House. I think so too. This can't just be a belief though. We got to do the work. So we got to get out there. We got to talk to our friends. We got to talk to our neighbors. We got to explain to them why they personally may not have a job right now, why personally their wages may be stagnant, why personally they may not be able to afford health care, why personally their loved ones who were historically in, say, a nursing facility is now going to have to come and live with them because there's no funding that is available for them. They now are going to have to, have conversations with those people that are losing their small businesses, even those at the big businesses. We saw what happened with Tyson in Nebraska. We're going to have conversations with those small towns where these manufacturing locations are shutting down or where they were supposed to open up and they're just not going to open. We're going to have to get very real about the fact that there are so many people that always want to say things like, I don't do politics. And as my sorority sister, the incomparable state representative, Sony Rose, always says, you may not do politics, but politics will do you. We're going to have these real conversations. And if you have a service member who is a loved one, an uncle, an auntie, a sister, a cousin, a mother, a father, we need to talk about the fact that our foreign relations and our relationships are all jacked up. It's like putting them at risk. Right now, every single day that he is in office, these service members are being put at risk. Mind you, this is the same administration that decided that it wanted to try to threaten sitting members of the House and the Senate, and they decided they wanted to go after Mark Kelly specifically because they literally just wanted to recite what it is that service members are not supposed to do. This is like written. So like, I don't know how to convince people that some things are bigger than a political affiliation. And right now, if we can't convince people in this country that it is bigger than a political affiliation, because the last time I checked, this is not the party that is pro-life. We know that when they illegally cut off funding for USAID, that has cost hundreds of thousands of lives. We know that for the first time, at least that I've been in Congress, we had our Congressional Budget Office, also known as the CBO, trying to predict how many deaths were going to come as a result of the big ugly bill. We also know that we have seen constant reporting around the fact that women are losing their lives in record numbers because of their policies and what they push forward with this insane and terrible Supreme Court as it relates to reproductive access. So like, I just want to be clear. People are dying. Not to mention we have a record number of deaths of people that have been in ICE custody. Record numbers for last year. Not to mention when we're looking at our farmers and ranchers, we are experiencing record numbers of suicides by them right now, as they are also experiencing record numbers of bankruptcies. Listen, there is some bullshit for everybody. And so, like, to me, it's just time out for playing games. Like, this ain't about whether or not the next politician is going to be your bestie. This isn't about whether or not the next politician excites you, the most and gets you all jazzed. What this needs to be about is whether or not you believe this politician gives a damn as to whether or not you live.
Now, is that 400,000 babies by abortion, or 4,000 babies abortion plus um not reproductive, or why was that in my head? There's abortion, there's by death, and then there's by, I gotta get this. Hold on. Hey. Never mind, I figured it out. Okay. So there's abortion. There's not abortion. Yeah, abortion, not adoption. Ooh. I'll get back to you in a minute.
As to whether or not there is going to be a country where your children and your grandchildren can live and thrive. This isn't about finding the perfect person. This is about finding people that actually have courage to do what is right. And when I said people, like, I mean it. Like, I do not agree with Thomas Massey on a lot of things. I do not. Like, I don't want to put it out there that we do. But at the same time, this motherfucker got a backbone. Like, he stands for what he like believes in, and he doesn't fold no matter who you are. So, like, I don't know. It's gonna take like doing more than kind of like, oh, I did my part and I went and voted. Like, you need to find that candidate that, like, you're like, you know what, I believe in you. So I'm going to make sure that I go knock some doors. I'm gonna make sure I send some text messages, make some phone calls, and if I got a little extra $5, $10, I'm gonna send it off to you, because granted, while I love to go and have happy hour, I'm gonna need to go ahead and sacrifice this happy hour for this, because it's bigger than that. Like, it is so hard for me to understand how we got here, but more importantly, it is so hard for me to conceptualize if we can't save us. Like, that would be the most disappointing part. Now, let me tell you, currently, if we're looking at the trends of the elections, we are doing good. We are absolutely doing good. But we cannot afford to get comfortable whatsoever. And we have to keep up this energy. We have to remain focused and not be distracted by all of the bullshit that they will throw out there. They're going to do everything that they can to distract and divide, because distraction and division is how we ended up in this mess. I'm going to need people to be laser focused. And if anybody starts to get distracted or divided over bullshit, like, I'm going to need you to remind them, you know, whatever that distraction or division is, that, like, we are all in a sinking ship right now.
Miscarriage. So you have abortion, and then you have miscarriages. And miscarriages are not counted mostly in the census. Oh, it's more than 400,000, by the way. And do you not, and let's not get too biased here. Those individuals who put their babies in trash cans, do we not count that? Who would literally rip the baby away from the mother and put them in the fucking trash can, and you don't count that? Not only as murder, attempted murder, but you count that as something else. And are we talking about specifically Black people, white people, Hispanic people? I know Asians don't do it. Although, if you want to go to traditions when it comes to Asians, they would prefer boys. They definitely would prefer boys over females because of some legacy that they're trying to continuously fulfill, which is not exactly the case in these days and time. Maybe in other families, I don't know. I do not know. But more highly likely, going back to what I said before, it's abortions, and you're not adding miscarriages. The only reason why so many people are having abortions is because of what? Incest, grape, and then being beaten half to death. Incest, grape, being beaten half to death. You don't count those either. And again, are we talking about black folks? Are we talking about white folks? What are we actually talking about here? Because this gentleman raised an interesting question, or he had an interesting comment, and it's those comments right there is where some of these men, especially from the manosphere, often like to talk about when it's the responsibility of the lack of the responsibility, I should say, of the male being around the house. They want the female to not work, not be educated, but to be around the house 24/7. Which absolutely positively doesn't make any sense. So you want a woman to cook, clean, and serve you like all the white masters were being served by their servants, which were mostly females. Oh, okay. So we're talking about a patriarchal day where white folks ruled their land, supposedly, allegedly, until they had to go to war. Okay. We're good on that. We were definitely good on that. So from here on in, when we have conversations like this, I ultimately would raise a question. It's up to you. And that question would be, would you like the tables reversed? Where the men go to war and the men have the babies and they can cook, clean, and provide for the lovers, which would be the females who are supposed to be doing female work, but you got them doing male jobs. But then again, you have it all fucked up in reverse. It's like you want the woman to work, and then you don't want the woman to work. Which one is it? So all this talk about women killing babies is a farce. It's inaccurate. Totally inaccurate. I've heard these talks too many times to count. And this is one of the reasons why the production of babies are decreasing, because marriages are decreasing, dating is decreasing, divorce is on the rise. And no female wants to be with any male. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are, because you cannot treat a woman this way. Yes, women do have responsibility when it comes to their actions and other actions as well, as far as how you approach a person, how you dress, how you do this, and how you do things. You're going to absolutely attract the wrong individual. I remember there was a thing that Muhammad Ali was speaking on when it came to certain people that you can trust, right? Certain people that you can talk to. And he was preferring the military. He said verbatim, if I'm quoting him correctly, there could be like 100 snakes, 100 deadly snakes. And within those 100 deadly snakes are 3 critical good snakes. Do we have time to access those good 3 snakes? No, because you have the rest of these snakes getting ready to bite your ass. In other words, can you find 3 males that are absolutely worth a damn? Yes, you can. It's going to be difficult, but yes, you can find men as well as women who are worth a damn. The problem is we get on this here internet and we accuse each other every day of doing this whole back and forth bullshit about who's responsible for what. Who's responsible for uh uh uh, declining the household? Who's responsible for divorce, and who's responsible for this, and who's responsible for that? I say we need a reset. We need a whole entire fucking reset of individual. I think we need to do what the Matrix, what the architect was talking about in the Matrix, and just do, 7 females and 5 males, and just reproduct that way. So that way we all know who is right and who is full of shit. We should just do it that way. That way we won't have to have this back and forth talk anymore about who's responsible for killing of the babies, and who's responsible for depleted black homes in America and all this other nonsense. Who's FBA and who ain't? Who's Adolfs and who ain't? And this is one of the reasons why I would like to move my shit way far in the mountains, away from all this nonsense. Start a farm, start my own food crops. Possibly no TV, no internet. Just sit with my old record and my collection of records, and just start, just listen to music, because music is the only thing that makes sense. Now, the old genre of music. I'm not talking about the music of today, because the music of today don't make no fucking sense. Dads have no say in abortion. I beg to differ. That's a very, very small percentage, my friend. A very, very small percentage. But yeah, I ain't gonna hold you. I'm not gonna hold you at all. I am not gonna hold you. This shit has got to stop. We got better things to do than talking about the same old trickery nonsense. And this is one of the reasons I stayed away from Fatty. This is one of the reasons I stayed away from, not from Fatty specifically, because I actually like him. He's entertaining. I stayed away from the nonsensical bullshit that they talk about each and every single day in their live streams. Each and every single day. The woman is responsible for you said that we're all a bunch of hypocrites, but then we look at your life and you see you're no different from the next man, or you're no different from the next woman, and blah 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 blah, and it goes nowhere. It just goes in a circle, just like in Exodus. Why do you think Moses' people went into a whole full circle? Because they complain. This is an Exodus. Read your Bible. And in Deuteronomy, Aaron Aaron finally got to the promised land, but he couldn't go in there. Why? Because he disobeyed God. Now, I do admit there's some horror Babylons out there, but we have to look at the percentages. It's a very, very, very low percentage. Look where these people come from. They come from low poverty housing. If you had projects that these people can go to make money, there would be less prostitution. There would be less homelessness in the world. Let's just start there. All these particular projects, all these things that they're building, and you can't have not one program where homeless people can thrive and make a decent amount of money for themselves. You can't, because the population is too big. The population that grows within the world itself is too big according to the elitists. I'm trying to tell you specifically so you will know the facts. And the fact is this. It is 7 billion people, more than 7 billion. Fuck, this is a new year. I think it reached 8. There's about 8 billion, more than 8 billion people on the planet. More so that these people are complaining that they're losing resources. There isn't enough food, which is BS, because you keep throwing food that you don't even finish into the garbage. Why do you think these people just go into the garbage cans and get your leftover food, which is disgusting, but hey, they got to do what they got to do. Have no socks on their feet, so they use trash bags to put trash bags on their fucking feet. How do I know this? I see this every day. I see this every day, man. And they have nothing but book bags on their backs. Book bags, hoodies, wearing the same shit and going through casino, going anywhere just to get warm. And what are you people are doing? Kicking them out. I feel I'm on the fence. Where I work, I'm on the fence. I feel bad. But most of us we have a job to do. We just have a job to do. You get you a drink of water, you go to the bathroom, use the bathroom, wash up in the sink or whatever, then leave. Because you ain't spending money. And you ain't spending. Do you think Donald Trump gives a fuck about these homeless people? He don't give a fuck about regular people. Regular people who do have jobs. Regular people who do have health. Oh, I'm sorry. Healthcare ain't even a thing no more. Because the premiums have gone up. And I say, if the premiums go up, wages should go up. Aha! If premiums for healthcare goes up, we should get $30 an hour. Why don't you go to Trump and talk to him about that? Run to him and tell them that. Run to him and tell them that. Premiums go up, minimum wage goes up $30 an hour. Then let's see how this world really works. Oh, they'll get higher tech. Who cares? The United States is bankrupt. It's bankrupt. There is that reparations thing, by the way. If you give all black people $30 an hour right now, which is unrealistic, but let's just say, okay, realistically, let's just say you give them 23, $23 an hour starting. You give them a chance to think about what they can get, because some of these people can do overtime because we don't get no holiday pay. I don't know about the rest of you, but we don't receive holiday pay. We have to make the money the best way we can. So I'm just making a statement. 25, $30 an hour if the premiums go up, which they're already, according to your healthcare provider, whoever that is, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Red Cross, Medicaid, Medicare, whatever. It all depends upon you. It all depends upon your healthcare provider. And when you find out from your healthcare provider how much of a premium you're going to be paying, I want you to send a letter to Trump's administration stating that if the prices are going to go up, our wages should go up. It's all fair in the game, right? Now let's get back to this.
And if we don't decide that we are going to start to collectively get this water out of the boat, then we all are going down, regardless of where you stand on, oh, well, I'm a Christian. I am too, boo. And my Bible don't say that none of this is right. Like, that's just what it is. I'm just saying. Like, so I don't want us to get caught up in that, because this man knows nothing about the Bible anyway. So I don't even understand how Christian evangelicals decided that this is a guy. Like, I really don't. Okay, let me do two more. Let me find them real quick. Because I know y'all got better things y'all want to do. Now to make sure this. Oh, it's a good question, but I don't know the answer. Let's see. How did you understand while standing up to? Okay, this is a good one. Okay, these are a lot of great questions. Okay, so this is very good. This is very good. I'm gonna do this one. In moments like today, leadership isn't about outcomes; it's about guardrails. What guardrails are missing right now, and how would you fix them as a senator? This is such an excellent question for a million different reasons. All right, so number one, when we talk about a shift in power in the Senate, we know that the Senate only has 100 members, and so your power is next level from what it is in the House, where there's 435. We call it the upper chamber for a reason. And so when we are looking at flipping the Senate, it's always more difficult. Like, it's a difficult balance. And we have things such as the filibuster that may need to be challenged. Put that out there under certain circumstances. And I think that, if we can have filibuster carve-outs for things such as our budget, I don't see how we can't have a filibuster carve-out for democracy in and of itself. So I have been a large proponent of kind of reminding people of how I got here in the first place. And for those of you that don't know, I was in the Texas State House, and I was a freshman when I was there. And when I was in the House, the Republicans decided to attack voting rights. And as a civil rights lawyer, it didn't sit well with me, knowing that I was still only the 22nd, lucky number 22, the sorors will understand that, 22nd Black woman to ever swear into the Texas House. And my predecessor was actually one of two, because we had two Black women that swore in at the same time. And they actually swore in with Sarah Weddington in 1973. And the reason I bring up Sarah Weddington is because I'm not really sure how many people know that Texas was really a good state. We were doing good things for the country. Sarah Weddington was a young lawyer who had argued her first case in front of the Supreme Court, Roe v. Wade. So here it is. My congresswoman at the time, Eddie Bernice Johnson, swore in along with Symphonia Thompson, who we call Miss T, who is still serving over 50 years later in the Texas House. So here it is. She calls me up and tells me that I need to run, but this is after we had a very dramatic session. We broke quorum. For those of you who know anything about Texas politics, there is a state rep by the name of Trey Martinez Fisher. Trey Martinez Fisher has been like a mentor of mine since the day that I swore in. And most people don't know that the reason Trey and I were so close is because there is a judge in Dallas County, Judge Tillery. So Judge Dale Tillery is one of the best judges that I've ever had to appear in front of. And Judge Tillery became a bit of a mentor to me because Judge Tillery actually got his political career started in the state house. And as luck would have it, Trey Martinez Fisher was swearing into the Texas House, and Judge Tillery became his mentor too. So we shared this mentor, and as all of serendipity would work out, I actually ended up sitting my freshman year in Judge Tillery's desk. Of all the 150 desks, that's the desk that I ended up in. And the reason that I know is because there's a Bible in every desk in the Texas House, and the members signed the Bible. Hopefully I signed it. I think I signed it, but the members signed the Bible. I'm trying to remember now. But as I look back, it tells you like who all is sat in that desk. And so Judge Tillery has sat in the desk. So anyway, so Trey Martinez Fisher, when he came in as a young member, he actually was a part of the last quorum break that they had in the Texas House. And so for me, I was like, this is crazy. I can't believe they're doing this. There has to be something. And it was Trey Martinez Fisher who was giving me history. So this is why I have always been very deferential to senior members, because there's always like value in knowing like what is taking place and that kind of stuff. And I've always had senior members that have honestly poured into me. And so Trey was giving me the background. I was like, well, we need to do that again, right? And so myself, Gina Hinojosa, Trey, a number of other people, we like pulled together kind of this small coalition, like, yo, we need to try to break quorum because this is the only way that we can stop this and bring attention to what's taking place. Fast forward, that all took place, and most people came to know me because of our fight over voting rights. The reason that I say that this has to be an integral part of what the next senator from Texas decides to do is because we don't get any of our other freedoms. We don't get any of our representation. We get nothing if we don't say, you know what, we got to push forward and make sure that there is a carve out specifically for democracy and fortifying it, because it has been exploited under this administration. That starts with making sure that the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act as well as the Freedom to Vote Act are passed. These are measures that Nancy Pelosi ushered through the House, and then they went nowhere in the Senate. We have to get them passed. So for all the states that are on edge, not knowing what the lines are going to be, and Trump is calling everybody, telling everybody to switch it up, change it up, that would not be happening if we had the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act passed. And I think that if you care about healthcare, if you care about where we stand on foreign affairs, if you care about jobs, if you care about the tariffs, if you care about the Epstein files, whatever it is that you care about, you can't get there unless you are allowed to select your representatives versus your representatives selecting their constituency. And the thing about things like a Senate race, it is the great equalizer. Like, this is your opportunity to make sure that everyone has an equal say in who is elected. Unlike a congressional district, you can chop and screw it and minimize voices, but every single voice, every single vote counts exactly the same by the time you go to a statewide. So for me, I think that what we've got to do is we've got to consider expanding the court. I've got legislation that I've signed on to. I'm a part of the task force, the Supreme Court task force. Hank Johnson out of Georgia, as well as Jamie Raskin, as well as Madeleine Dean, and others. We are part of this Supreme Court task force. And so looking at things like an actual ethics reform or an actual ethics being in place for the Supreme Court, that means that when they are actually conflicted out, that like we have a way of making sure that they are out, instead of them just being like, oh, I don't feel like I have a conflict, I'm good. We need something stronger than that. And every other court has that except for the high court. We need so many more things out of ethics when it comes to Supreme Court, but we also have to make sure that we are potentially expanding the court. And another bill that we filed is term limits. The term limits would be 18 years on each of the justices. This ensures that we actually have turnover of the Supreme Court instead of doing things like what Trump did or what McConnell did, where he was holding out spaces. So I just feel like there are certain spots on the Supreme Court that were illegitimately gotten, for sure. So I think if we're going to shore up our democracy, we have to first start by shoring up the checks and balances. And so that starts with the Supreme Court, as well as it is only the U.S. Senate that actually has oversight over the Supreme Court. So they can bring them in. And just like you've seen me do my oversight of everybody else, it is only the Senate that has this type of oversight over the Supreme Court.
I'm going to take up calls for the polls real quick, and I'm going to say go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, We-On-Loc Nation channel. Hit the like and also help a brother out if you can, when you can, with the Cash App that's below that the great Lisa has so gracefully provided for me, or for whatever. Dizzy 88 Cash App, whatever. More importantly, go ahead and go to chance.org. If it's still up there, it should be still up there. Go to chance.org, chance.org/swearing Jasmine Crockett for U.S. Senate. Again, go to chance.org, swearing Jasmine Crockett for U.S. Senate. We need to support this heavy, and also support people in your district, in your area, in your state, in your city. Support these people heavy, whether it be Republican, Democrat, with whatever reason, what works specifically for you. Like, I'm looking into what is her name again? Cheryl, real good. I think her name is Cheryl, or is it Susie Lee? My bad. I'm looking into Susie Lee heavy to see what she's about, see what stance she's on. She's on the not the Senate floor, but she's a congressman. I think she's head congressman in the state of from the state of Nevada. So I'm looking into that, and I'm looking into other things. But when it comes to this, when it's something like this that absolutely Trump fears, which is Jasmine Crockett herself, and I don't know why he so-called fears a woman, a black woman at that. But to me, this is a good thing. So support Jasmine. For Jasmine Crockett lovers, go ahead and support her however you can. If you're in the Texas area, go ahead and when it's time to go vote, go ahead and hit that box and go ahead and support. Here we go.
To be able to bring them in and to get them to answer questions. And finally, as we are building out these benches, we don't need no more Eileen Cannons, okay, and others that are getting lifetime appointments. So having someone who has the legal background, who has actually practiced law, both in state and federal courts, who knows the questions to ask as we are confirming people to lifetime appointments if we don't go ahead and invoke some sort of term limits. I think it's important that we have somebody, because we running across some real bad judges like all over, and they're just sitting there, and they're sitting there for life, and truly changing the face of, how we are even interpreting the laws that we are enacting when we finally get something enacted. The final point that I'll make, and then I'm gonna go, because I feel like a Baptist preacher who's been closing for like 50 times, even though I didn't pass around the collection plate. But please, if you feel, inspired, definitely go to jasmineforus.com and donate. My team will be so happy that I said that. I think that it is our time. It is our time to flex our power. I don't know how many more opportunities we are going to have to be able to flex our power if we don't start to do it now. And I want you to know that any frustration you feel with current elected officials, whether they are Democrats or Republicans, any frustration that you feel with these very systems that obviously are broken, I share your frustration. You see it play out usually in committee. But I am so scared for our country, and I'm so frustrated that this is where we are. And as someone who has traveled the world on behalf of the United States and spoken to foreign leaders and spoken to foreign assemblies and all the things, I am so very concerned about what this means, not only for our present state, but like going forward. And the quicker and earlier that we can just get people that want to do right, people that aren't so convinced that they need to, shuck and jive for a president who is a lame duck president. I mean, the quicker that people are reminded, and it's sad because you've got all these people on the Republican side that instead of just doing right, they're like, forget it, I'm out. I'm just gonna retire. And that's not courage. That's not patriotic. Like, we have to do what's right. So anyway, I just want to say God bless. Happy New Year. I am expecting greater for us because from the No Kings protest to November 4th results to special elections, even in Deep South, whether we're talking about Miami or whether we're talking about Tennessee or whether we're talking about Georgia or Mississippi, y'all are showing up. And I know you're tired, but just imagine that you're not just doing it for you. You're doing it for people that you've never met. You're fighting for future generations to make sure that they are in a better world than you came into. And right now, a lot of generations are wondering if that is going to be true. So it's up to us. So God bless you. Have a great Saturday and stay in this fight, and definitely check in with us next week as we go back in, as we will most likely be engaged in a lot of conversations around Venezuela. And they think we not going to talk about Epstein, but we ain't letting that one go either. All right.
Oh boy. Well, with that being said, I'm gonna go and hit the hay in a few minutes. But I just wanted to basis with y'all once again. He's still arguing with these buffoons. Let me see if he's still
escaped from prisons and mental institutions. All the while, they're 2.5 times less likely to commit violent crimes on this soil compared to natural U.S.-born citizens. Being exclusionary, being bigoted, being prejudiced, all right, shouldn't be the values that represent this country. Donald Trump holds those values, close to his heart. Therefore, I don't think he represents the true values that this country should shine brightly.
All right, but the thing about Eugene Carroll,
it's not Eugene.
I'm sorry, my phone hit the 10% mark. But about the Eugene Carroll, which you mentioned, if that Eugene, whatever, if that happened, Eugene Carroll, that's what I've been saying.
Jean Elizabeth Jean Carroll.
Oh shit! I thought her name was Eugene. My fault. But if that happened in like 1996, how come they haven't arrested him for it?
It's just some young kids.
Because she didn't come out about it until 23 years later.
These are some young cats.
During the statute of limitations had passed, so they couldn't.
But why?
For it. Why did she?
But
wait?
why would she do that 23 years later?
Because of men like you.
What you mean, like men like me? I'm perfectly normal. All right.
I think that really stigmatized women when they do come out about these stories. You don't believe them. You believe them.
I'm perfectly
and
normal.
There's also many other social factors.
Wait a minute. Maggots are not normal. Maggots are slithering, nasty little crawly little worms. The same crawly little worms that are in your chat and always talking America, 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 America. If I had the American flag, I'd burn that motherfucker right in front of you. While doing this and saying, fuck America. Fuck America and what it stands for. That's what I would say to your motherfucking face, because none of that shit benefits me as a black man. It never had, never will. Your constitutions had not benefited me. Your forefathers, not my forefathers, your forefathers, what did they fucking do for me? So fuck yous and bucks is what you stands for. All right, I done gone long enough, but well, Lisa, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Don't worry. We'll talk about all that tomorrow. Why don't you leave? Motherfucker, you ain't from here either. Why don't you go back to bloody fucking England, you cocksucker? Hell! All right, seriously, I gotta go. We'll argue about this whole shit tomorrow, but I gotta go today. Bye.
How come he